All right, well, welcome everybody. So thrilled that you are here. If this is your first time joining the show, welcome. My name is Mary Hyatt, and of course, I am your show host. And maybe you aren't familiar with me. Maybe somebody shared this video and you're curious who I am and what I am all about. So let me take a couple seconds to introduce myself. Like I said, my name is Mary, and I am a presidential diamond with doTERRA. I am a life coach that focuses on helping women wake up, find their voice, and become fully alive. And I am here doing this show every single week, Wednesdays at 1 o'clock Central Time, where we get into issues around vulnerability, authenticity, how you can show up more of who you are and remember how lovable you are, how enough you are. And I have been on this journey of Sorry guys, we are trying to figure out what's going on with the connection here. But so glad you guys are here, and I really want to focus on the body. I want to focus on how we can become more at peace with food, how we can quiet that inner critic, and really learn to come to peace with our bodies and to love our bodies. So without further ado, let's start the show. Y'all, we all have a body bully. A bully that starts very early in the morning, doesn't take a break. You know, it starts from the first moment that we get out of bed. And its job, our body's bully's job, is to remind us that something is wrong with our bodies. And that we don't measure up, that we are flawed. That starts in the bathroom when we're getting undressed to get into the shower, and maybe we catch a glimpse of ourselves in the mirror and we think to ourselves, you look so fat. Who has had that experience already today? Maybe you're out and about walking around in the city and you catch your reflection in the, shop window and you think to yourself, my stomach is so huge. Or maybe you're in the middle of your day and you happen to glance down at your thighs and you think, how did I let my thighs get so big? I've got to go on a diet. I've got to fix this. Or maybe you're having sex and you shift down to look at your stomach only to start saying to yourself, oh my God, I'm so fat. How is he even turned on right now? Is he going to notice? God, I'm so gross. It never takes a break. It never takes a holiday. It never takes a day off. This body bully is incessant. This body bully is a voice that carries on all throughout our days. And only when we go to sleep do we actually get some reprieve from this bully. And this bully is clever, y'all. This bully is incredibly clever. It aims straight at our heart, and the ammo is shame. So if you know what I'm talking about, if you have come into contact with your body bully today, give me a number 1 in the comments section below. So just type in a number 1. Hey girl, I got a body bully. I know what you're talking about because chances are this has already been going on today. But we are going to be using this word bully a lot today because we are going to talk about what this body bully's agenda is, how we can begin to shift this dialogue inside of ourselves. So I thought we should probably start with defining the word bully. And I'm seeing a lot of ones from you guys, from Karen, from Diane, from Erin, from Tiffany, from Lisa. Yeah, you guys are feeling me. So here is the definition when we look at the word bully as a verb. To threaten to hurt someone, often frightening that person into doing something. Okay, so that's what it means to bully someone, to threaten or to hurt someone, often frightening that person into doing something. Now, if we shift over and we look at what does it look like to define bully as a noun? Like if you are a bully, or as we're talking about our body bully today, this is a person or voice in this case who threatens to hurt someone, often forcing that person to do something. Now, the interesting thing about both of these definitions is that it talks about forcing us or frightening us to do something, to take action, to do something. So if you think about it, when we are talking about our body bully, this particular bully forces us or frightens us to do penance for how disgusting we are. Okay, it forces us to do penance. And when our body bully starts talking to us and we start internalizing it as if it is our own voice and we believe what it's saying is truth, our only option that we have is to repent. Repent from being disgusting, repent from being gross, repent from being fat, lazy, all those different things. We have to then go into action. We have to do something. And what happens is we end up obsessing. We end up cowering in fear, and we try to make sure that this body bully doesn't get angry again. We kind of like treat it like the abuser, like, oh my God, you noticed that I was fat, or my stomach is big, or my thighs are big, and okay, what can I do really, really fast so that you don't bully me again, so you don't beat me up, so you don't abuse me again. So what happens is it forces us into something, and we go to work. To repent, to pay penance. And so what do you think we do? We diet. We start working out obsessively. We start restricting our food. We start getting surgeries. We start buying new clothes. We start getting new makeup. The list goes on and on and on as far as our behavior, so that we try to quiet this body bully by taking care of what they're accusing us of. Or, I don't know, but this is true for some of you guys, or it has the opposite effect. So instead of going into anxious action, obsessive action, we go into denial or avoidance. Like, basically, we rebel. We start to binge. We stop caring. We kind of like throw our middle finger up, at our body bully and kind of like, okay, yeah, right. I'm going to show you. But the reality is when we go into denial, we're just avoiding it altogether. And that body bully is still there. It's still abusing us. And so what happens is that then we have to put on layers of protection. Then we have to pad ourselves from ultimately our own abuse. And so, both of these are reactive. One is anxious, obsessive, and the other is avoidance, denial. But both of these aren't very healthy responses. It doesn't bring us more peace. It doesn't help us come into a more loving relationship with ourselves and our body. It makes us a little cuckoo crazy. And I hate when we're living life out of this reactive state, because that takes our power away. And I don't want that for you guys. I certainly don't want that for myself. And I've worked through so much of this in my own journey of coming to love and acceptance with my body. And I had to begin to address this megaphone that was like the body bully. And I've done both. I've been obsessive and anxious and dieted and worked out and all those things. And for many, 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 many years of my life, I was shut down. It was like I became a complete victim, that I was just abusing myself, and I was just taking it. And I was eating to stuff my emotions, to stuff my fear, to stuff my hurt. And I was padding myself with layers of weight of protecting myself against my own self. I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but that's kind of what's going on here behind the scenes. Tiffany, you're saying for sure. Anybody else relate to this? Anybody? If you do, type in a number 2 or say, hell yeah, I do. Oh my gosh, this is like an aha moment. Whatever's going on over there. If this is resonating, let me know with some hearts or some thumbs up. Let me know what's going on. But let's kind of get a little bit curious about our body bully. Let's get to know our bully a little bit and figure out what the agenda is here, what's really going on. Lisa, Diane, you guys are saying, yes, absolutely. Jennifer, number 2. Trisha, you said this is me in a show. I think we can all relate, Trisha. Like, this is probably all of us in this show. But all bullies became bullies. Okay? They weren't born that way. They weren't setting out to do bad in this world or to beat you up or to abuse you, or, you know, you think about like a general bully. No, something happened to them. They were harmed. They were abused. They were hurt. And then as protection, they flipped that and became the abuser. They became the one that harmed, the one that hurt. And so when we're looking at our body bully, it really is no different than a regular bully. The same is true for you. Your body bully, in a way, was created out of a space of survival. Okay, so let's kind of like dig a little bit deeper into this. So any kind of passionate hatred. So when we turn this hate on ourselves, when we turn this onto ourselves, it has originated from some story, from some other story. This passionate hatred is coming from somewhere else. Because somewhere along the way, there was a moment, okay, for each of us, there was a moment that you were bullied, whether that be in your mind or actually bullied into believing that your body wasn't good enough. Okay, we are bullied or body shamed from very early on. So the reason that we have this passionate hatred towards ourselves today, the reason that we bully ourselves today is because that originates from a long time ago, from when we believed we weren't good enough. We were bullied and then we turn it on ourselves. So I have this course, as you guys know, called Babe Redefined. I'm running it right now. And it's all about really coming to peace with your body and around food. And in this course, there is a section where we're talking about these stories, this originating story where you believe that your body isn't good enough. And all the women in the group are sharing this. We talked about it yesterday in our group coaching call. And it was powerful to hear these moments where these women, whether it's what people said to them, the moment they noticed their body was different than other bodies, and all the shame, all of the judgment, all of the fear that went along with that. And y'all, I don't know if you can recall right now that moment, but for me, I was at the lunch table in 5th grade at Scales Elementary here in Tennessee, and one of my friends, for whatever reason, you know, we're sitting on those little round chairs at the lunch table, and my friend decided to go around and ask everyone how much they weighed. Now, when you're in 5th grade, you're not really aware of that. At least I wasn't. I knew how much I weighed, but I didn't know what that meant in regards to anybody else's body. And I can remember I was 100 pounds. Now, I was healthy. I was average size kid. I was active, all those things. But that number was met with a lot of like nervous faces from my friends. Like, ooh, 100. I could have been probably 99 and that would have been fine. But crossing that 100 mark all of a sudden wasn't okay. And I became very aware that this was not acceptable. Something had to change. Apparently, that was too heavy. That made me undesirable. That made me unlovable. And so what I did, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this, what I did is I went home, and the friend who had asked everybody was also very concerned for me. And so she suggested that I go on a cabbage soup diet. She had seen her older sister do this diet. And so 5 days, all we ate was cabbage soup. Y'all, anyone do the cabbage soup diet? Anyone have those crazy diets they did when they were super young and didn't need to lose weight and all those nutso things? I felt so embarrassed. I felt so ashamed of my body that I needed to go to work to fix it. and then I got angry at my body. How could my body be 100 pounds? How could my body be against me in such a horrible way? And so we learn that the only way to survive with a body that is against us, that has betrayed us, is to hate it, is to belittle it, is to berate it, is to abuse it, is to bully it. Because we hate it so much, but that stems out of a place of fear and hurt that we are not lovable. And so if we bully it, if we berate it, then we feel like we're in a place of power. We feel like we can control our body. We can make sure it doesn't gain weight, or we can lose the weight. We can appear stronger. We can appear like we are in control. And so bullying gives us some sense of power back. Because deep down, we feel very fragile or very hurt, and we are seeing our bodies as the enemy. And you guys are sharing some of your stories. Thank you for sharing that. Trisha, you said that you were bullied in elementary school for other things, but the weight issues hit the hardest in high school. Yeah, so common for middle school, high school to be where we suddenly notice our bodies as they're changing, as we're, as women, we're getting hips, our breasts are budding, we have acne on our face, it's like this awkward transition into womanhood. And that was you said that was the most depressing part of my life. And that's when I turned to eating and hate. Yeah. Farron, you said that you were 120 in 6th grade. Yeah. Like the fact that we know this and we've attached the meaning that we're not good enough or that this is bad begins a cycle of shame that turns into a very, very present force in our life known as our body bully. So let's take a little inventory. So everybody who's watching this video, it's time to take a little inventory to think about how vocal, how loud your body bully actually is. My guess is for most of us, it's going to be very loud. My guess is that this is a voice that is chiming in no matter what you do, when you eat, when you get dressed, when you shower, when you have sex, when you're sitting down, like anything, it's going to be pretty loud. So think about the last 24 hours, okay? Think about getting out of bed. Think about getting into the shower. Think about when you get out of the shower, you look in the mirror. Think about putting on your makeup. Think about getting dressed. Think about yesterday, like running around, whatever errands you had to run. Think about all the people that you interacted with in the past 24 hours. So maybe your husband, maybe your boyfriend, maybe your roommate, maybe your wife, maybe your kids, maybe your coworkers or friends or acquaintances. Just think about all the people that you came into contact with in the last 24 hours. Maybe if you've exercised, maybe you were at the gym or the yoga studio, or you were very aware you weren't doing this. Maybe think about all the food that you've eaten in the past 24 hours, the food you've prepped or the restaurants you went to. What was your body bully saying to you during all those moments? So think about it just for a second. Last 24 hours, where you were, who you saw. What was that body bully telling you? What was it saying to you? And y'all, most of us let our body bully run shotgun. And so we've kind of become immune to its voice. A lot of times it's speaking to us, but we don't even realize what's going on. We kind of stop hearing it. We've tuned it out and we forget that it's even talking. So this is a chance to gain a little bit of awareness of okay, 24 hours, what's this body bullying telling me? Can you remember what it said? Maybe it said something like, nothing fits me. Maybe it said, this shirt is too tight. I need to go on a diet. Maybe it was, oh my God, I look so gross. I look so old. I look so disgusting. I look fat. I feel so fat. I just want to die. Everybody's looking at me. I look worse than anybody here. My butt is too big. My thighs are too big. My stomach is too big. My thighs are too big. Maybe that is a little bit of what your body bully sounds like. But what does your body bully sound like to you? What is it saying to you? Feel free to share in the comments And I know, again, this is so common for all of us, but y'all, our body bullies are very, very clever, okay? And our body bully bullies us in 3 ways. The first way it bullies us is body bashing. Okay, this is where it begins to pick apart everything on our bodies and screams at us that we're not perfect. It begins to bash our bodies. It begins to judge our bodies. It's making sure to let you know that you and your body are not good enough. Your thighs are too big. Your hair is too flat. Your eyelashes are too small. Your eyebrows are too thin. Your arms aren't toned enough. Your ass isn't round enough. Okay, this is body bashing. Now, the second way that our body bully will bully us is through body checking or comparison. This is when you walk into a room or you pull up your Instagram or your Facebook, and every time you see someone else, you size them up and you see where you fit. It makes sure that you know exactly where you stand. If you're better, if you're prettier, if you're uglier, if you're skinnier, if you're fatter, you're gonna know it, okay? So this is called body checking. And then the third way that our bully bullies us is through body shaming. You know, you should have tried harder. Everyone can lose weight but you. What's wrong with you? You're born with this and you'll never be able to fix it. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're an embarrassment. You're broken. That is powerful. It is clever because it comes in from all different angles, bashing, checking, shaming, to where you never get a freaking break from this body bully. Tiffany said flabby and floppy, gross. Yeah, totally. Trisha, you said that I'm not good enough. My husband's going to leave me for someone better, and then I need to be better. Oh my gosh. Can I just say, like, Trisha, thank you for that. Like, an amen. I think that we as women, I was married for 10 years, divorced. I totally had those thoughts all the time while I was married. I have since worked on this a lot, and there's moments where I catch myself in that now with my amazing boyfriend who unconditionally loves me. I still get caught in that. So I think we can all relate to that one. So let's see what that voice triggers. So when it's bashing, when it's checking, when it's shaming, remember, it's going to trigger us into a behavior. It's going to make us do something. So let's start seeing what these extreme behaviors are. Skipping out on parties, crash dieting, cleansing, excessive working out, reading tons of health books or listening to a lot of podcasts surrounding health, consuming like a lot of information so that we know what we need to do, avoiding mirrors, avoiding sex, not buying new clothes, not putting on a bathing suit, binging, purging, restriction. You know, basically, we can be 100% sure that all of these things, these behaviors, are in reaction to our body bully. Like, you're not doing these things just because you want to. It's in reaction. So I like to ask, anytime that I start to see these behaviors, anytime I start to see like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to get obsessive or whatever it is, I pause when I see myself getting obsessive, when I see myself getting fearful, when I see myself getting crazy, and I ask myself, what thought triggered this behavior? Because you're not just behaving in a vacuum. What thought triggered this behavior? Okay? What thought is making me obsess about my stretch marks around my hips? You know, what thought is making me eat this entire bag of chips? What thought is making me work out 6 times a week when my body is exhausted? What thought is making me cry every single time I have to go shopping for clothes? What thought is making me say no to the pool party, or in this case, probably now, like the holiday party, because I don't want to be seen in a bathing suit, or I don't want to have to find a dress to wear to this holiday party? You know, all of our behaviors originate from our thoughts, in this case, the voice of our body bully. And this bully these thoughts are the ones that are driving the ship. And the good news is, like, check in for this. The good news is, if you can make yourself believe that you are ugly, that you are disgusting, that you are gross, that you are unfit to be in a healthy relationship, that you don't deserve love, that you're going to be left or be alone forever because of your stomach, then you can make yourself unbelieve these thoughts also. Every single thought that your body bully is feeding you is subjective. Just because we're thinking it, just because our body bully is saying it, doesn't make it true. We can actually choose to think something different or choose to believe something different about who we are. Just because you've been telling yourself your entire life that no one's going to love you until you lose another 10 pounds doesn't make it true. Just because you've been telling yourself that the only way to make sure your husband doesn't cheat on you is to get your hair done every 4 weeks doesn't make it true. Just because you've been telling yourself that maybe doing a juice cleanse will fix all of your problems doesn't make it true. We can literally create the reality we desire by making ourselves think and believe what we desire to think and believe. How awesome is that? And that is why we have to get really good at challenging our thoughts and go to work at intentionally curating a new, kinder, more loving internal dialogue. And we actually have control over this, which is the good news, which is the exciting part. And here's how we begin to shift the dialogue. Okay, so if we want to move from this body bully who's constantly berating us and telling us that we're not good enough, then we have to shift this dialogue. So one of the things that I instruct my Babe Redefined girls inside the course to do is to begin to talk to themselves as if they were talking to a little girl. So imagine your body as its own thing, its own person, and that own person is like a little 8-year-old, 10-year-old girl. Okay? You would never bully your daughter, your niece, or a child who is young and innocent. You would never sit there and bully them and tell her that her thighs are too big or her stomach was too big or that she was ugly or, call her 4 eyes or whatever it was. You would never do that. Ever. How would you speak to that little girl? We have to take that way of speaking and put it onto our own selves and the way that we speak to ourselves around our body. What if someone spoke to your daughter in the way that you speak about your body to yourself? Just imagine that for a second. You would be livid. You would be absolutely like, oh, hell no. We are not doing that. You cannot speak to my daughter that way. You cannot speak to my niece that way. And that's what we have to do for ourselves. And so it's seeing our body as a beautiful, innocent, precious, fragile child and speaking to her in that same way that we would speak to a little girl. Whitney, you're like, oh, hell no. And there, to me, are going to be 4 steps that we can take, okay, y'all? There are going to be 4 steps to shift this internal dialogue for ourselves. So I'm going to walk through these with you because there's a little bit more to it than just speaking to ourselves in this loving way. I mean, that's what it ends up being. But the first step is to identify the voice. Okay, so when somebody comes in and says to you, your body bully comes in and says, "Oh, your thighs are too big. Your butt is too big. These stretch marks are gross. Your husband's not going to love you. You should hide yourself. Don't look in the mirror. You're disgusting." Identify the voice. Whoa, hey, wait a second. This is my body bully talking here. This isn't my voice. This isn't truth. This is my body bully. And then ask yourself, okay, where is this voice coming from? Where did this originate from? Whose voice is this really? And you can even kind of say to yourself, okay, well, who says? Who says my thighs are too big? Who says that having my thighs touch means I'm gross and ugly and undesirable and unlovable? Who says that being, 190 pounds is not okay, not healthy? Who says? Really start to identify this voice. Who says? Whose voice is this really? When that body bully comes in, identify it and ask yourself, who says? Because your body bully is not your own voice. This is originating out here somewhere from somebody, whether that's media, whether that is you read it in a book, it is an author, it was a doctor, it was an aunt, it was your mother, it was your father, it was a teacher, it was a friend. Whose voice is it? Because it's not your own. Because your voice is loving. Your voice is unconditional. Your voice is your soul's voice, not your ego. So whose voice? Identify. That's the first step to shifting this internal dialogue. Now, the second step is to acknowledge it. So our body bully believes it has a very important message to share with us. Again, it's out of that protection. It's out of that fear. It's out of that hurt. So we can't just, say like, sorry, we don't hear you, and try to avoid it and try to deny it. We have to acknowledge it. Like, bully, body bully, I hear you. Acknowledge it. Affirm it. I hear you. I hear that you are really afraid right now. I hear that you're afraid that I am not going to be loved because my hips are too big, because my calves aren't defined, because my boobs are too saggy. Like, I hear you. I hear that you're really trying to remind me that I am in jeopardy of being lovable. I really hear you that you're trying to remind me that I'm not enough because you're afraid that I'm not going to be loved. That's the core, right? Like the real fear of the body bully is that we aren't going to be loved, that we are unlovable, that we are broken, that we are flawed. And so it's kind of like trying to prove that, like, hey, you're right on the edge, like, go take care of yourself because you're about to, not be loved. You're about to get rejected. You're about to be abandoned. That's what's coming in. So acknowledge, okay, body bully, I hear you. So we're going to identify the voice, then we're going to acknowledge it, and then this is where you get to challenge it. And you can ask yourself the question, okay, my body bully just said that my breasts are too saggy. Okay, who says? I hear you. And do I want that to be true? Do I want to believe this? If the answer is no, which oftentimes it is, then we get to go to work to challenge it. I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that if my boobs are too saggy, my boyfriend's going to leave me. I don't want to believe that if I have stretch marks on my stomach, my husband's going to leave me. I don't want to believe that I can never eat a cookie again or else somebody's not going to love me. I don't want to believe that I have to go on a juice cleanse every time a party comes up. I don't want to believe that I'm going to be rejected if I put on a bathing suit and no one's going to find me desirable. I don't want to believe those things. So then I get to go to work to challenge them and draw a clear boundary. No. Body bully, this is not true. I'm not listening to you. You're telling me lies. You're feeding me lies, and I will not believe you. Basically calling bullshit on this voice. Like, no. We have a strong boundary. I will not listen to you. Your voice is not truth, and you challenge it. And so once you've challenged it, once you have drawn that clear boundary, the last step in shifting this internal dialogue is to call in your loving self. This is probably like my favorite. This is a self that I had to tune my ear to hear. I wasn't familiar with this voice when I started this journey. The only voice I was familiar with was my body bully. So I got to cultivate a new relationship with my loving self that you guys get to cultivate with your loving self. And that loving self is that voice that we talked about earlier, like how you would speak to your daughter. That's your loving voice. The voice that is going to affirm that you are unconditionally lovable, no matter what your body looks like, no matter how much you weigh, what size pants you wear, the size of your breasts, the condition of your skin, wrinkles or no wrinkles, that this loving self loves and accepts you and knows your worth far exceeds your body. That your body is a part of you, but it is not the sum of you. This loving self is going to affirm your worth, your value, your lovability, just because you simply breathe. That you don't have to do anything to earn it. You don't have to look any certain way to receive it. That all of this love is already here, that you're already worthy of belonging, of love. That's your loving self. So you're going to call in that voice to affirm the real truth. So if your body bully is feeding you lies, you've identified the voice, you've acknowledged it, you've challenged it, and then you call in the truth, this loving self. And it might sound something like, this is kind of what my loving self sounds like. It might sound something like this, oh, sweetie, like just compassionate, oh, sweetie, you are so loved. You are so lovable. Your body is perfect just the way that it is. It's been through a lot, and sweetie, you're fine. You are fine just the way that you are. You are so lovable, and I know you're self-conscious. I know you're afraid. I know you don't feel good. I know you think you're broken, but you're not. You are not broken. I love you so much, and there is nothing that you can do to lose that love. I love you just the way you are. And then you can offer some gratitude. I'm so grateful, body, for the way that you gave me energy today. Body, I'm so grateful for the way that you have kept me strong. I'm so grateful for the way that you birthed this baby or, went through this illness. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for the way that you allow me to breathe and hear and smell and see and taste. I'm so grateful, body. And I'm grateful for the way you've been keeping me healthy. Thank you. And that's what this loving self sounds like. It comes in and it pours our glasses full of the truth. And it says, you are good enough. You are lovable, just the way you are, just the way your sweet body is. So we have to identify the voice. We have to acknowledge it, challenge it, and then call in our loving self. And that's how you begin to shift our internal dialogue into a more kind, empathetic, loving version versus that body bully. And we're bringing that tenderness, that love, that empathy, that grace. And Brené Brown says, practicing self-love means learning how to trust ourselves, to treat ourselves with respect, and to be kind and affectionate with ourselves. And when we do this, it challenges and changes this dialogue. And this is a practice that, you're going to practice throughout time. You're going to work on this. You're going to work on this. When you're able to identify the bully, identify that voice, you begin to affirm and remember how worthy you are of love, how worthy you are of respect, just as you are, especially from yourself. This starts from ourselves. We can't expect anybody to love us if that isn't originating from inside of ourselves. And so we begin to shift this. And I love to say that you can't bully your way to loving yourself. It simply doesn't work. And this is a journey. This is one I've been on for many years. But I can tell you that I know that body bully voice really well, and it does not hang out in my head. It may come in, it may pop over for a visit, but it doesn't get to come inside of my house. It doesn't get to sit down. It doesn't get to have a cup of tea. It doesn't get to watch shows with me. It doesn't get to get dressed with me in the morning. It doesn't get to ride in my car with me. There's a boundary there. There's a boundary. And I shift into that loving self. And this is little by little, but I just hope that in today's show that you begin to really start to recognize this voice. You hear it, you identify it. Oh my God, this is going on. I wouldn't want to speak to my little girl this way. So let's shift it. Because when we love ourselves and we speak to ourselves in loving ways, we act out of our best interest. We don't start obsessing. We don't go crazy. We don't do things in excess. There's that balance there because we aren't trying to earn our love, prove our love, and escape this horrible abuse from ourselves. So guys, I really appreciate you being on the show with me today. I'm super excited because next week we have a very special guest, Kristen Lohr, who you do not want to miss. I was on her podcast a little while ago, and she is fabulous. We're going to be talking about the body. We're going to be talking about vulnerability, authenticity, showing up as your true self, being in alignment with that. It's going to be juicy. So I hope you'll join me next Wednesday at 1:00 Central. But I hope that you all have a fabulous rest of your beautiful week. And to remember that the purpose of life is to be grateful, to be great, and to be full. I will see you guys next week. Bye.